Hello. Before I would like to start, I would like to thank you all for staying and allowing me to present again. I already presented on Monday, but I didn't present the passage presentation that I wanted to give. Here we go. I've always felt like I've left something behind. I can go back and look for it, but I can never find anything, except that one time in the hotel room where I found my toothbrush. I believe that I am leaving behind memories. Memories of what? I don't know, because they become forgotten. But as I leave memories behind, I gain new ones that change me, perhaps changing me to walk 2% different or changing my view on life. Is it worth it, however, to lose a memory of walking down the hallway of the Roman Colosseum for a memory of walking down the hallway of an airport? Are those memories truly gone, or have they just turned into my personality and who I am? I don't know, but what I do know is that some things are worth remembering. As many of you know, middle school started for me after living in Spain for 2 years. It was hard to get back into the swing of class since I had maintained little contact with my friends back home here in Truckee. I still wanted to come back to T because I thought it'd be easy, but middle school was harder than it seemed. I decided to join the cross-country running team right when I got back, which was very painful due to me not having done many sports in 2 years while in Spain. I was always at the back of the pack while running, and sometimes just alone. Everyone supported me at my worst, and that felt great, not being at my worst, but everyone supporting me. Even though I didn't get last, I was extremely close to last, and yet everyone still cheered me on at the finish. This year, that also happened in track and field at finals, which I qualified for. Everyone was cheering me on as I finished my mile while skidding a new PR. This time, I wasn't close to last, but in the middle of the pack with the first place person getting a time of 4 minutes and 52 seconds. The trip to San Luis Obispo was amazing. We went to Hearst Castle and went surfing. My favorite memory from that trip was when me and a few others woke up early to go on about an hour early to go on a run with Shelby. It showed me who was willing to sacrifice sleep to do something fun. I've learned essential skills that I haven't forgotten and life lessons that are normally not learned in middle school. I did camp a few summers back called Junior Guides. When I was on the Klamath River and back in a raft, I thought I'd forgotten all the guiding skills I learned at the camp. I didn't know if I would be allowed to guide the raft, or even if I could. I still asked because there's nothing to lose. Every day on the river, I was allowed to, and I rowed for at least 30 minutes. On the back of the raft, I remember the skills I had learned, and I felt comfortable, and I decided that I could ride a rapid or 3 and pushing myself out of my comfort zone. Sadly, on that trip, many people were not there, but I believe that everyone on that trip had a good time. Last semester in San Luis Obispo, we were supposed to do an engineering challenge, but we didn't have time due to us going surfing. When it was time for the next semester, I wanted to do engineering. There is no classes offered except for the high school engineering class, but since I was in 8th grade, that wouldn't work. I talked to Shelby, who is the high school engineering teacher, and we managed to make a whole new intensive for middle school. For our first engineering assignment, we had to make a chair out of cardboard without any tape, glue, or adhesives. My group made a chair that was pretty close to 2 cardboard boxes stacked on top of each other. It worked, and it was surprisingly comfortable. It doesn't have to be pretty if it works was kind of the philosophy there. We were also putting constructive adversity to work. In Kimberly's class, it is mostly the same cycle. Philosophy. Okay. We just have to say enough to get the point across and nothing more, except of course for our citations. I've learned about many things in social studies, like the history of education in the United States. We then relate the stuff that we learned in the United States to the stuff that's going on right now in the real world, and sometimes even go places to learn go further into the things that we're learning. For example, when we went to Hearst Castle, we experienced yellow journalism, in which we were learning about at the time, and we also went to one of the Native American boarding schools to better understand that part of our U.S. history of education. Most of our trips are based around English, science, and social studies. Our trip to the Klamath was English-based, and on one of the days after we rafted the river, we debated about whether the dams should have been removed or not. My team lost because we didn't use direct quotes in our argument. I learned that it's better to prove your point logically than argue unnecessarily, and it is pretty important to have facts to back up your argument. That's why I like sports. The only argument you need is your speed and ranking. In track, when I am running, I constantly calculate what my pace is and if I am running fast enough. I learned that math can help me stay focused during sports, which I learned during track this year. I am someone who compares myself to others, but in a way that is, yeah, I can also do that, instead of, oh my gosh, they're so much better than me. I found this in Nordic skiing. Nordic has allowed me to push harder than I ever have and do better than I ever could by looking at the person in front of me and trying to catch them. After coming back from Spain, I had not Nordic skied for 2 years and hadn't done many sports in Spain at all. I started skiing again and remembered how fun it was, and decided to go even deeper. I joined a club team, ASC, and our own T team. I decided to start training even harder. That year, I did the best I'd ever done in my history of Nordic skiing, and then I decided to invest all my time into it. I trained over the summer with ASC because of that. Over time, I've learned to balance Nordic with other things I like, such as building cool things. I've learned to wax my skis and clean my skis, which has taught me to take care of my gear. Through Nordic, I've traveled to places that I haven't before, such as Idaho and Utah for Western Club Championships. Western Club Championships is a race against all the other top skiers in the Western US, and there are a lot of different teams there. Because of my dedication, I've gotten top 10 results for the US and the region for my age group. Every time I race, I learn about myself through how I choose to race and what decisions I make on the course. After each race, I talk to my coach, reflecting on my race and what I could do better. I've also had to learn to be responsible for my other gear, including my boots and clothes. Once the school year started, I had to balance homework with Nordic 4 days a week. Overall, Nordic skiing has taught me to be responsible for myself, my gear, my other work, and has been a positive influence on my life. Now, let's go back and talk about the early years for a minute. When my class was not 20 people, and instead 8, which was in kindergarten, we went to Berkeley to study frogs, a tradition with Miss Rosie. It was the first tea trip that I remember, and my first time going on a college campus and trying hash browns. It was cool to see the university's pickled animals. Also, a little bit creepy. And for a few years after that, I insisted on going to Berkeley for my college. And also for 3rd grade during COVID, we were out in the woods, our backpacks being plastic boxes, so we could leave them outside, and everyone's afraid of having a pine cone fall on their head. One of our projects was to write any US official a letter about climate change and how they could help. I choose to write to our new president at the time, Joe Biden. Now, since the president probably gets about 1,000 letters a day, it took him a long time to respond, like 9 months long. So when he replied, we were living in Spain, and all my friends in Spain were wondering how I got a letter from the US president, as anyone should. I said that in 3rd grade we had to write a letter, and they were like, what? That's crazy to do in 3rd grade. And I was like, told them, yeah, but that's the stuff we do at T. That's the kind of stuff that you don't forget, and you carry it with you through your life. Sometimes it's hard to see that when you're trying to get somewhere. But when you're at the end of a path, you can look back and see that you got through it. You got through those long days in the hot classroom, checking your watch every minute, waiting for the day to end. You got through those trips where it rained and all your stuff got wet and you had to get dressed in the next morning ready for that hike. You got through that last question on your test, which you didn't study for because you thought it wasn't going to be on the test. You all got through this year, and now it's time for the next step on your journey. It's not about the journey, but the destination, but the destination can be part of your journey too. Now, as we all part our ways, some staying, some choosing to go other places around the world, I'm glad that I could spend this year with my classmates. Thank you.